Hi guys, it's Justine, but you can call me Blondie. For today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the Santa Fe BH Cosmetics 20 color eyeshadow palette from BH Cosmetics, and I'm so excited about this eyeshadow palette. It's been out for about a year now. Here's what the sleeve looks like, and then here is what the palette packaging looks like. And this is so beautiful. But as I was saying, it's been out for about a year now, and ever since they announced the release of this, it has been like on my makeup wish list, because if you guys don't already know, I am from New Mexico, and Santa Fe is the capital of New Mexico. And I've been thinking, like, for forever, I've been thinking, how perfect would a New Mexico inspired eyeshadow palette be? Just because there's just so many pretty colors in New Mexico, and when I saw that BH Cosmetics came out with this palette, I just knew I had to have it. Here's what it looks like. As you can tell, there's a lot of neutral colors. It's definitely not a palette I needed, but I wanted it mostly for like collector's purposes, especially because in the past, BH Cosmetics palettes for me have been very like hit or miss. Sometimes the pigment is not extremely great, and I've also had some like really powdery shadows from them in the past. So mostly I wanted this palette for, like I said, collector's reasons, because it's the first palette I've ever seen that's inspired by New Mexico. So just to go over like the shape, the shadows are placed in like a very geometric formation, which is, it's very similar to a lot of New Mexican art and Native American art in New Mexico. I actually have a blanket that has a pattern almost identical to this, and so I thought that that was very fitting. And then the colors of the palette very much resemble the New Mexican landscape. We have a lot of neutrals, a lot of browns and tans. We have some yellows, some reds, some yellows, reds, oranges. We have one like blue color, which is more like a turquoise, which turquoise is in a lot of Native American jewelry and stuff in New Mexico. The only thing is I wish there was like a green color to represent green chili, because New Mexico is so big on green chili. And then I feel like that would have made like this palette perfect, like a perfect Santa Fe inspired palette would have like a green color, especially since there's this red color right here called Ristra, like chili Ristras. They could have put in a green color, because green chili is so big in New Mexico. So I'm gonna go in and just go through each of the colors, the names, describe them one by one, and do some swatches for you guys. So I'm gonna start out with the left side, and the first is this color called Dune, which is like a matte beige color. It's kind of got like a little yellowy undertone. A lot of times colors like this don't have a lot of pigment, and the pigment like this on this color in particular actually seems pretty decent. It just seems a little powdery, just based on first swatch. Then we have Spirit, which is a gorgeous shimmery gold. In this one, the swatch has gorgeous like chunks of glitter in it, and I'm so obsessed. Again, the pigment is really nice in this one. It is Soul, which is another like beigey matte. This one is a little more yellow than Dune. This one, however, is not as pigmented as Dune, I feel, and it's also, I feel like this one is powderier than Dune is. And then we have Sand, which is kind of a champagne-y gold, a light gold, and it's a shimmer shadow. It doesn't have as many big specks of glitter as Spirit. It also doesn't swatch as well. It takes a couple of swatches to really pack on the pigment. Next is 505, which is the area code in New Mexico, and this is a matte orange. Again, the pigment is not very good. It's kind of hard to build as well. Then we have Arrow, which is a, I don't know how to describe this. It's almost like a cool toned mustard yellow, and again, it's a matte. Pigment is not fantastic. Also, all these colors together, even though some of them don't have the best color payoff, when you see them all swatched next to each other, they all look like they'll go really nice together. Like these, the 6 colors I've already swatched look like you can easily make a very cohesive look with them. Next, moving on to the next quadrant, we have Ristra, which is like, it's almost like a cool toned red. I don't think I have any colors like this in any of my palettes, but the color payoff on this is just not, it does not swatch well. It looks more like a pink when you swatch it. It's just, the pigment is not there. We have Plaza, which is a beautiful cool toned brown. Swatches very well compared to the other shadows. It has a lot more pigment than the other ones. Then we have Mesa, which is a shimmery brown. And this one again is gorgeous. It has again those big chunks of glitter. So far with this palette, what I'm noticing is these like more glittery shades seem to be the ones with the most pigment. Then we have Clay, which is a nice like lighter brown. Again, it's kind of a cool tone. There's a lot of browns in this palette and they are all kind of on the cooler side. So I'm not really sure how to describe them compared to each other. This one has more, I would say, yellow tones, whereas Plaza has kind of some red tones in there. And it's really interesting that they named this one Clay because I feel like Plaza, like that, because Plaza has kind of like those red undertones, that looks more similar to actual like red clay that you would find in New Mexico. But then we have Sage, and Sage is kind of like a very dark, cool toned brown. It's actually, ooh, this one feels like really buttery on the finger. It doesn't swatch very well though. I find it very interesting that they named this one Sage. I don't know if they named it because I guess it's kind of the color of like sage bark, but Sage Brush is more of like a green, like a really light green, borderline minty color. So I just find it very, I don't know, an odd name for a color like this. Then we have Canyon, which is another like brown color. It kind of has slightly red undertones. And this one does swatch pretty well. It's another matte. It does swatch pretty well compared to the other mattes in the palette. Then we have Route 66, which is a shimmery brown. And this one is another one that has gorgeous specks of glitter in it. It's actually very, very similar to Mesa when it's swatched. Like the two colors are extremely similar. They both have like little gold specks of shimmer in there. Like when they're swatched, they look almost identical, to be honest. Then we have Dream, which is kind of like a pink. It's a very, very light pink. Pan, it's almost hard to tell it's a pink. It almost kind of looks like a brown in the pan, but then when you swatch it, it is a pink. It's a shimmer. Ooh, this one is very buildable. First swatch, it didn't look like anything special. Second swatch is really, really gorgeous. Oh, and then we have Chili. I didn't even notice that there was a shade named Chili. And this looks, in pan, it looks orange. But then when you swatch it, it is more red. And this one has better pigment than Ristra. It is more of a warm toned red compared to Ristra. Then we have Santi, which is a like champagne color. And this is a gorgeous champagne. This would really be like a really nice highlight color. And then we have Rio Grande, which is a turquoise color. And this one is very pretty. Of the matte ones, I would say that this is probably the best swatch so far. And then we have Casita, which is another cool toned brown. And this one is another one that has better pigment of the mattes. Still not amazing. It's also very similar to Plaza. It's like slightly cooler than Plaza. Actually, I would say it's almost the same as Canyon. The two are very, very similar. Then we have Rancho, which is like a mauve taupe color, and this is another one that has like almost no pigment whatsoever. And then we have Adobe, which is like a light brown, and this has a fair amount of pigment, better than some of the mattes, but other mattes are better. This one is like kind of in the middle. So those are all of the swatches so far. Not incredibly impressed, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, that's kind of how all BH Cosmetics palettes have been in my experience. They're just not incredibly pigmented, and often they're also very powdery. Pretty much all of these, all the mattes, the shimmers, they all had quite a bit of powder to them. So that's how I swatched. Now I'm going to go in and try them on my eyes. So one nice thing about this palette is it does have a great big mirror, so that way it makes doing your makeup easier. But I think I'm going to try Rancho. I think I'm just going to do like a very typical brown neutral look, since most of these shadows are neutral. I'm going to go in with Rancho, which like I said was kind of like a mauve taupe. And I'm going to use that as like a transition shade. Actually, it looks like when you pick it up with a brush, it picks up a lot of product, which is nice. already I'm saying that like it's not blending incredibly well. There's like an area right here in the middle that is like, what's the word? There's a big old gap right there that I can't get product on. And just so you guys know, already on my lids I do have concealer and some setting powder on top. I like to do that because I feel like it makes the colors pop more, but at the same time the setting powder helps eyeshadow to blend better. It is very buildable in some places. It's still like right here. I don't know how well you can see in camera, but right here on my lid, the pigment is like not going right there. I'm just gonna blend that out a little bit with a big fluffier brush. I feel like I should have worn like a more New Mexico shirt for this video because I have a lot. I have like a bunch of Lobos shirts. I guess Lobos aren't technically in Santa Fe. Next I'm going to take Plaza right here. And this, when you put it on your lid, especially next to Rancho, you can definitely see that there's like, it's like you can see the red in the pigment. Ooh, I messed up right there. And this actually looks really nice with Rancho. Those two colors go really nice together. They make for like a nice neutral look that's not quite brown, but it's also not quite like super warm toned either. I'm actually very surprised. I've had a tiny bit of fallout, but so far not a ton. Which, since the swatches were so powdery, I thought there was going to be a lot of fallout. Fallout isn't a deal breaker for me. Like, for me personally, I just brush it off. But I know a lot of people do have, like, issues with fallout. And then I just want to deepen the crease a little bit. So I'm going to take just a tiny, tiny bit of Sage, which is that dark brown. I'm just going to barely dip my brush in there and just kind of, like, pat it into this little corner. And swipe it up into the crease. Just to deepen it a tiny bit. Okay, so compared to the swatches so far, I'm pretty impressed with how these eyeshadows are going on. They're a lot more buildable when you use a brush compared to when you're just swatching with your finger. Which I feel like usually when you swatch it with your finger, you get more pigment that way. But for some reason these are going on better with a brush, which is very interesting because in my experience that's just not how it usually works for me. So far they're looking a lot better than I anticipated. I am having some issues on the outer edge, but that just could be because, but I don't blame the eyeshadow for that. That's just because I suck at blending. Okay, so I think now I'm going to take Santi, which is this champagne color down here. I'm going to use my finger so I can pack on as much sparkle as possible. I'm going to put that on my lid. Ooh, that's pretty. Oh, that is so pretty. I love that. I can easily see myself hitting pan on this color first before any of the other colors because it's just such a pretty shimmery color. And it has like a lot of sparkle to it, which I am a sparkle lover. Okay, this outer edge is driving me crazy though. Like I have a hard time blending right here. Okay, then I'm going to do my bottom lash line. And I'm going to again start off with Rancho, which is that mauve taupe. And then I'm going to take Plaza again and kind of put that in the outer bottom corner. Blend it in with Rancho and then also blend it up into the rest of my eyeshadow. I would like love this Plaza color. I'm just going to take a little fluffy brush and just kind of blend that pepper right here. And then I'm also going to take Santi again and just pop a little bit on my inner corner. And I think I'm also just going to put a tiny bit on a brush and just lightly highlight my brow bone. Oh, that's pretty. So now I'm going to quickly do my eyeliner and mascara, and then I'll be back with you guys to share my final thoughts. Okay, so here is the finished look with some winged eyeliner and some mascara, and my final thoughts of this palette are it actually performed a lot better than I thought it was going to, especially after I did those swatches. The swatches were so bad. Like, the pigment looks not at all there, and surprisingly the pigment went on pretty well on my eyes. I did have to build it up, but it is very buildable, and when you do build it, you do get like a really nice color payoff. I think these shadows in particular are just ones that go on better with a brush than on your finger as well. Like I said, it wasn't perfect. I did have some trouble getting some of the pigment onto my eye. There was a little bit of fallout, but nothing horrible, which I was also surprised about that, because when I was swatching them, they were extremely powdery, which is just, that's always been my experience with BH Cosmetics eyeshadows. But overall, it's a really nice palette. This retails for, let me look it up real quick, $26. So I feel like that's a very fair price for how well it performs. It's not like a fantastic palette, but it's also not awful either. It's very decent. I feel kind of bad for giving it like not the greatest first impression when I was swatching the eyeshadows, because like I said, they actually ended up performing pretty well on the eyes. So that is it for my quick little review. Like I said, I mostly got this for like collector's purposes, because I've been waiting so long for anyone to come out with a New Mexico inspired palette, and so when I saw that BH Cosmetics came out with a Santa Fe palette, I had to get my hands on it. But yeah, that is it for today's video and this review. I hope you guys enjoyed. Keep an eye out for some more makeup reviews, because I have a bunch coming up these next few weeks, and that is it. Thank you so much for watching. Bye guys.